Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Yaru Walks. This is my first video update since completing the calendar year Triple Crown in 2024. It's currently the first week of March, so it's been about 2 months since I finished my year-long hike across the United States. And the purpose of today's video is meant to be more of a look ahead as far as what I have planned for 2025 and beyond. And so my plans are definitely to continue to post videos. The subject matter of the videos will change just a little bit. So in 2024, I completed basically what was an 8,000 mile long hike that started in 2023 with the Arizona Trail, an 800 mile hike, which was meant to be a training trail for a much longer hike that would take all of the year 2024 for me. And that second much longer hike was the calendar year Triple Crown, which consists of hiking the Appalachian Trail, which is most of the entire American East Coast, and then the Pacific Crest Trail, which is most of the American West Coast, so from Mexico up to Canada, through California, Oregon, and Washington. And then the third trail in the Triple Crown is the Continental Divide Trail, which goes along the U.S. Continental Divide or the Rockies Mountains from Montana down through Wyoming, Colorado, and finishing in New Mexico at the border with Mexico. Altogether, that was an 8,000 mile hike that took me, for the calendar year Triple Crown portion, the AT, PCT, and CDT portion, took me right around 11 months to complete that in 2024, and altogether that portion was 7,000 miles. I went from very little background in through hiking and serious endurance training / experience to coming out of that year in really remarkable condition as far as hiking and walking are concerned. Now, it being 2025 and 2 months later, I don't want to kind of let all of that endurance training go to waste that I developed over last year. At the same time, I don't want to just continue through hiking indefinitely. I mean, I would love to, but obviously it's expensive and it's, I think more importantly, disruptive to a more just normal and balanced lifestyle. For now, my plans kind of immediately and for the foreseeable future are to take up training for I guess what I consider to be the hardest ultramarathons in the world and the longest ultramarathons in the world. And so those would be marathons on the length of like 200 plus miles and in places where your elevation change are just up and down mountains versus traditional marathons, which are along flat roads. And in some cases, they're in very harsh and challenging terrains like desert conditions. An aspect of my training for these ultra marathons that will be similar to the calendar year Triple Crown experience is, on some level, my lack of experience coming into it. So when I started the calendar year Triple Crown last year, my backpacking experience was pretty much entirely limited to the training hike on the Arizona Trail. Prior to that, I had never done a real backpacking trip. It was a fact that I had never set up my own tent ever in life leading into the Arizona Trail. And then through the Arizona Trail, I ended up cowboy camping, so sleeping on a thin little orange foam mat with no tent or tarp overhead. And so by the end of the Arizona Trail, coming into the calendar year Triple Crown, which started on the Appalachian Trail, I had still at that point never set up a true, multi-walled tent in my life at that point. And so the reason I emphasize that is just to explain how I was coming from a very limited amount of experience into the calendar year Triple Crown. But at the same time, I was able to pull off a pretty successful hike for the year, if you tuned in. Now, coming into training for long-distance ultramarathons, I feel like I'm up against similar challenges. So I have effectively no running background at all. I will be going from someone who has a good amount of experience now hiking, I guess what ultramarathoners call power hiking, which I just call walking. But when it comes to incorporating running into my ultramarathon competition strategy, I have quite literally no background in it. And so if you're interested in continuing to tune in, which would be amazing, an aspect of what I think will make this year and going forward interesting to watch will be that I'm going from, the concept I have in my head is 0 to 200. So going from basically a background experience level of 0 up to the ability to actually complete a 200 plus mile race in what should take 2.5 to like 3.5 days. And doing that all maybe in a 1 year time period. And so kind of my dreams and visions are grand for this. I don't intend to just train to be able to complete a 200 plus mile ultra marathon. I'm also intending to train to truly compete and possibly even win these races. And so most of the people who race these 200 mile ultra marathons come from career or lifelong running miles under their belt. A traditional route would be maybe training for a marathon and then maybe extending what you do to 50 and 100 mile distances before you then attempt to even try to finish a 200 miler. Coming into these 200 plus mile distance races, my official record of running will be quite literally 0. So when people compete in professional or competitive kind of flagship races in the ultra marathoning world, your race results are always documented on one of a few websites, one being ultrasignup.com. And so kind of a neat aspect of my training to this point is that I've never been in a professional or, flagship ultra marathon race that would be flagged on ultrasignup.com. And so I guess the idea is I will continue training on my own, and I will be training, I guess you could describe it as an outsider's approach to ultramarathoning. And so I'll be coming in, interestingly, from a background of doing heavy, large miles that are even beyond the 200 mile distance, but training now how to get those accomplished in very short time durations, like 200 miles completed in 2.5 days, which is about what you would have to complete, a 200 plus mile ultra marathon time in to actually be competitive to win a race. And then along that journey, my plan is to, as clearly as I can, document what it is that I learn along the way, what it is that I'm trialing along the way, what my theories are about what I think would make for very effective training for 200 plus mile competition. I think that the angle from which I am approaching training for ultramarathoning will be novel and interesting. And if you're somebody who currently has no running background whatsoever and you wanted to learn what are the top endurance athletes in the world doing today to train to become faster, and what type of metabolic markers do they track in their body, and how you can monitor these body numbers to track your progress over time. I'll be doing, I think, explanatory tutorials for my journey as I track these markers, if that makes sense. And so even if a lot of this doesn't make sense, I intend to break everything down to the most simple manner that I can so that anybody could understand it. And if you at home had no background in running, simply by tuning in over time, following my journey, you would begin to understand an evidence-based and numbers tracking-based approach to endurance running that would be valid, 10Ks, marathons, everything that I would do for my training would be directly applicable to these other distances as well. So the idea is, as I continue to live my life, a more balanced life where I'm stationary, at least in the sense that I'm living in the same city, I will still be taking up, as of right now, which will be, it's hard to commit to because I'm not just on trail now. I'll be having a more normal lifestyle where I'm working in addition to the training, but I will be trying to maintain a very rigorous amount of training in addition to my daily life schedule. So as I go through that journey, I'll be documenting it along the way, and you can watch just from the position of someone who's interested in through hiking or from the position of someone who's interested in learning how to run, or I think even just from the position of someone who's interested in learning new things. I think it'll be interesting from many different perspectives is the idea. That's what I have planned for 2025. Yeah, hopefully I'll get more videos out soon, and I hope some people at least plan to continue to tune in and join for the journey. So anyway, hope everybody has a good night.